All right, I'm making this video for students who were absent on Monday from ELA class. So I am just going to take you through really quickly and show you what lesson you missed. So first off, on Monday, again, I'm going to use period 2 just to show you. Monday, we started with a do now. And the do now is in the orange folder. It says 11/28 Monday do now. And for this do now, the reading, we took out our reading notebooks and we added in Racer's notes and example paragraph into our table of contents. And then we added in these notes. Okay, so this has been done for you. Your classmates helped out with this. So that should be glued into your notebook already. Okay, so that was the first thing we did. Second item of business on Monday was the lesson. So our objectives for Monday were to learn a writing strategy to answer text-based questions about a passage, story, or text by remembering key components of a quality response and organized thinking and writing through viewing examples and practice. So what that means is that we were learning about racers, and a lot of students are very familiar with this, and some of them didn't know much about racers at all. So our essential question was, how can we use the Racer's writing strategy to write evidence-based responses? So like I said, we glued in our writing strategy notes and the example into our reading notebook. And then we did a Racer's survey. So basically the students discussed whether they knew a lot. They did a lot of practice in previous ELA classes. Some students shared some stories about what their teachers did with them last year. Some students said that they could use a refresher. Some students were not really sure, they didn't really remember how to do it, and other students said that they had never learned the strategy before. So then what we did on Monday is we went through the notes in the notebook, and we just really took a long time to discuss those. So you can find those notes if you go to they're in your notebook, but you could also go to the online reading notebook notes in the purple folder. And it's the last slide in the slideshow. So you have to click all the way through. Okay. And then I'm just going to open mine up, make them larger so that you can see better on this recording. But like I said, you can also follow along. You could look in your reading notebook to follow along. So basically, we discussed that Racers is a writing strategy that you can use when you're answering questions about an article that you read or a book that you read. And it's a really good way just to make sure that you're including all of the important parts of a paragraph. Okay, so I'm not sure how I could make this bigger. Let me see if I could try one more thing. I'm just going to enlarge it a little bit here. Okay, so let me see if I click slideshow. I'm not sure if that's going to take you away from the recording, so I'm just going to go through it with this screen. So basically, if you've never done Racers before, it's an acronym that stands for different parts of, every letter stands for something. So the R stands for restate, restating the prompt by turning it into a sentence. The A stands for answer, answering the question. You might include the title of the book or the author's name or in your answer, or you might do that in your cite, which is your next part. So cite is when you introduce text evidence. Sometimes you need to give some background information before you go into your direct quote. Like, for example, if you are reading a book and you're writing about it, you might need to add in a sentence that explains what's happening in the scene before you do your text evidence. And then you're going to include an in-text citation that supports your answer. So that's why we've been working on how to correctly do in-text citations. The next sentence is to explain how your text evidence proves your answer to be true. And then what you're going to do is a second cite. So some of the students said that they had to do this in fifth grade. Some of them said that they did more than this or less than this. But in sixth grade, we are asking for 2 pieces of evidence per paragraph. So you have to transition here a little bit. You might say, like, another example of this is, or in addition, and then you'll find a second piece of text evidence from later in the text and do the same thing. And again, you'll explain how that evidence proves your answer. The R stands for reread and revise your writing. So you can do that after your explain, or you can do the revision at the very end. But basically, I'm holding you accountable for revising your writing. And then sum it up. That's when you conclude your paragraph by explaining why your whole response was important. Like, why was it important for readers to learn that? Okay. All right. So then the next thing, let's see if I zoom in. Okay, well, I'm trying to make it bigger. Oh no, that was way too big. All right, let's go back. So again, you can look at your notebook while you're watching this video, but I taught a restate strategy that I want you guys to try to use. And some of the students knew this from the past, but it's basically a formula that you can follow to make sure that your topic sentence does not answer the question, because your answer is your second sentence. So what you do is you take a verb such as explaining and information from the prompt, and you say what it is. Is it interesting? Is it fascinating? Is it challenging, and why? So my example for the prompt, according to the paired texts, what makes superheroes relatable, I wrote, explaining how superheroes are connected to everyday people is interesting. And why is it interesting? I wrote, because they seem like they would be so different. So this way I haven't answered the question yet, but I've given a topic sentence, all right? So you can see that that topic sentence is used here in the red. It says, explaining how superheroes are connected to everyday people is interesting because they seem like they would be so different. And now I'm going to go into my answer. However, superheroes are relatable because though they have superpowers, they're also like us in many ways. Now my text evidence. For example, in her article, Superman Becomes a Star, author Mackenzie Caro, so I said the title and the author's name, explains that Superman's alter ego, Clark Kent, appeared to live an ordinary life. He was gentle and quiet, and then I did my in-text citation, like his creators. So now my explain is going to elaborate on why that text evidence proves that they're relatable. This shows that readers of comics may have related to the idea of being ordinary at times while being extraordinary at other times. Now, my second piece of text evidence, you can see I'm going to transition as well. In her essay, Why We Still Love Superheroes, the author writes, quote, superheroes have flaws and that makes them relatable. Take Spider-Man. He can be reckless and selfish, page 25. Now my explanation, I'm going to use a different transition here. Instead of this shows that, I'm going to say this demonstrates that. And remember, you have all of those transitions in your notebook. This demonstrates that even though superheroes are special, they're not perfect and can inspire everyday people to be their best selves. So lastly, my conclusion, why is this important? In conclusion, making superheroes relatable to readers was important because it allowed readers to feel connected and inspired by the fictional characters, which is what I wrote about in my racers. So you can always look back at that example if you need help. Now, going back to the lesson for Monday. So obviously that took a while to go over, but we spent time on that. And then the last thing that we did on Monday was we read this article. Well, we did a background builder, which you can skip. But we read this article that's called Why Do We Say Hello? And it's in Scholastic Scope. So you can click on that link and it'll take you to this article, The Surprising Origins of an Everyday Word. So you want to make sure you read this article to yourself. That was what we did prior to Tuesday's lesson, okay? That was the end of class. So hopefully you feel caught up once you complete those items from Monday, and I will see you soon.